Alright class, today we are going to learn how to solve one-step multiplication and division problems. So as you can see, the first thing you notice that is difference is that the side with our variable does not have any adding or subtracting. There is no adding or subtracting. So these are different than what we did last week because the operation happening between our number and our variable is not adding or subtracting. That is multiplication. So we have to undo multiplication by division. And the way that I remember that is I actually write my order of operations out, even though you don't really use them when you do these. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And I just always remember, well, if I have multiplication, division, adding, subtracting, subtracting, adding. Okay, so here I have multiplication. So to undo multiplication, I have to divide. So it's being multiplied 2 times, so it's being multiplied by 2. So I just have to divide by 2. And I show division with my fraction bar, not with this sign. I do not want to see that sign. So divide by 2. And remember, just like now with when we did adding, subtracting, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So you have to divide both sides by 2. Okay, 2 divided by 2 is 1, and that's what you want. You want 1x, and all you have to do is write x. You could write the 1, but you don't need to. X equals 14 divided by 2 is 7. Okay, so everything's the same as adding, subtracting, except you undo multiplication with division. So now when I go to check it, okay, I'm going to use this equation, 2x equals 14, but x is going to equal 7. So that is 2. Remember now there's a lot of different ways I could show this multiplication. I'm just going to go ahead and put my dot. 2 times 7 should equal 14. And sure enough, 2 times 7 is 14. So 14 equals 14. Okay, so that one I hope that you just follow along with me. That was a teacher model. Okay, and then number 2 is going to be the same thing. Just follow along with me. And then numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6 you're going to be able to try on your own and then use the video as needed. Okay, in this next problem, we're going to be doing the same thing. We're going to be solving. So solve for our missing variable. Our missing variable, again, is x here. Okay, so we're going to go through the same process. If you had your order of operations written out, they would look like this. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Okay, and I just like this because this kind of tells me what is the opposite of everything. Okay, so I have x over 5. Remember, that's the same thing as x divided by 5. This bar, this fraction bar, is divided by as well. So x divided by 5 equals 7. So I always start inside with my variable, and I'm trying to do the opposite to get my variable alone. So if it's x divided by 5, if you're dividing by 5, you're going to multiply by 5. So times 5. And if I times 5 over there, I'm going to times 5 over here. So what happens there is if you're dividing something into fifths and then you divide by 5, they cancel each other out. So that's exactly what you want. You're left with just x equals 7 times 5 is 35. Okay. Now when you go to check, you should get that same answer. Okay. So x divided by 5. Well, x equals 35, so now it's going to be 35 divided by 5, and we hope that that equals 7. 35 divided by 5 is 7. 7 equals 7. Check. Okay, so hopefully you again followed along with me on that one. That was the last one that I'm going to model first. Now I'm going to have you try the rest of these before watching me do them. Okay, I want you to try now number 3 on your own. Before you do that though, one thing I've been forgetting is remember where your equal sign is. We want to split that sign. That's really our first step, and I've been forgetting to show you guys that. So just split it where the equal sign is. Okay, so I want you guys now to stop the video and just do the best you can with these. You've only seen 2 of them, so it might be a little tough, but I want you to give it a try. And then once you're done, go ahead and play the video and see how you did. Okay, so hopefully that went okay for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my anchor chart here and go through these steps. So step 1 was to draw a line to split the sides. I already did that. I drew my line to split the sides. So now I want to focus on my side with my variable. And sometimes the variable is here, sometimes it can be on their side, it all depends, but it's over here, n over 8, or n divided by 8. Okay, so I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to do the opposite to get the variable alone. Well, it's being divided by 8, so instead of dividing by 8, I'm going to multiply by 8. So times 8 here, and then times 8 here. And when I do that, if you multiply something by 8 and then you divide it by 8, you're just back to 1. You're back to what you started with. So now you have n, which equals 8 times 3 is 24. Okay, so I got the variable by itself. I did the same thing to both sides, so I know I'm good. So now I check it to make sure everything went right. Okay, so instead of n over 8, I'm going to put 24 over 8. 24 over 8. And then the problem says that that equaled 3. So now I'm going to go equals 3. And 24 divided by 8 is 3. So 3 equals 3. It checked out correctly. So hopefully that went okay with you. No worries if it didn't. That was your first one trying on your own. Okay. Okay, so here we go on number 4. I again want you to go ahead and try this one on your own. Be very careful about what operation now is happening between our variable. Okay, when you try this one, go through the steps, and then once you're done, you can go ahead and play the video. Now, if you're feeling really comfortable with these and you think you got it, you can kind of quickly go, you can skim through some of what I was doing. You can just skip over and just make sure you got the same answer that I did. Now, if you make a mistake, then just go back and watch me closely. But if you're getting these, then there's no reason to sit and watch everything that I do. So go ahead and stop the video at this time. Okay, so hopefully that one went okay with you, or for you. Okay, so step 1, of course, when solving these, is to split the sides, right, at the equal sign. Step 2 is to try to get the variable by itself. The variable, again, is on this side. On all these problems, the variable happens to be on this side, but it could be over there. Okay, so it's over here. So 6 times x, so I want to do the opposite of 6 times. So the opposite of 6 times would be divide by 6. So divide by 6 and divide by 6. Okay, and 6 divided by 6, well, any number divided by itself is 1, so you're just left with 1x. Okay, and you can write that 1 in there if you want, but you really don't have to. I never do. Okay, and then that equals 24 divided by 6 is 4. Okay, so 1x equals 4. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and erase that one because I don't like it there, but it's nothing wrong with it. Okay, x equals 4. And now when I check it, I'm going to go ahead and put in 6x equals 24, but instead of x, x now equals 4. So 6, and when they're smushed together like this, remember that's multiplication, so 6 times 4, because x now equals 4, equals 24. And 6 times 4, 24, equals 24. Okay. Take special note to the way I'm solving these, because on your work today, I have to see it like this, and I want to see this whole process. Otherwise, when I grade them, I'm gonna push them back and have you redo them, because I gotta see it just like this, because we're gonna get into 2 or 3-step equations, and then you gotta know the process. Okay, so we are on to number 5. Okay, so now we're going to be doing a little bit of a review. This is what we did last week, okay, but we're still solving, okay, and this is an equation because I have my equal sign, so you should know that we're solving. So x minus 12 equals negative 8. So this is a problem we're going to want to be careful on, but our steps are the same. So step 1 is to split that side. Okay, step 2 on our anchor chart says focus on the side of the variable, do the opposite to get the variable alone. Well, the opposite of minus 12, whoops, meant to have my pointer out there. The opposite of minus 12 is plus 12. So I'm going to plus 12 plus 12. Plus 12 plus 12. Okay, when I do that, negative 12 plus 12 gives me nothing. That's what we want. So you're just left with your x, or your 1x. And that equals negative 12 plus 12. Now be very careful. You have a negative and a positive. So that means you're going to end up subtracting. 12 minus 8 is 4. And then you have more positives than you have negatives, so you're going to be left with a positive 4. So x equals 4 is your answer. Okay, so now when I go ahead and check this one, instead of x, I'm going to put 4. So 4 minus 12 should equal negative 8. Okay, so here, when I check this, because I'm working now with what I'm going to end up working with negatives, I'm going to change this minus to a plus by doing plus the opposite. So I'm going to go ahead and go plus the opposite. And that was not very neat. Don't like that. The opposite. Okay. And now, again, my signs are different. I have a negative and a positive, so negative 12 plus negative, it's going to be 12 minus 4 because I have a negative and a positive, so your signs are different. You subtract. So 12 minus 4 is 8. And then now this time you have more negatives than you have positives, so that's going to be negative 8, and that should equal my answer, which is 8. Now, as you can see, I didn't do this on purpose, but I made a little error because in the problem this is supposed to be negative 8. So now I have to make sure that that's a negative, and then that would make that a negative. Now it checks, so be very careful when you're working with these negatives. It would have been very easy to get x equals 16 there for an answer if you weren't careful with your signs, and then when you checked it, that would not work. Okay? So hopefully that one went okay with you. We're going to do one more review. Okay, so now notice this one, the directions are different. All the other ones said solve, and this one says simplify. And even without this saying simplify, you should be able to look at it and realize that this is an expression, not an equation, because there's no equal sign. So there's no way to figure out what x is because we don't know what this side is. Okay, there's no equal sign. But we can simplify this. Remember, when you have a number on the outside of parentheses, that actually means to multiply that number by both numbers. Okay, so 3 times 4x minus 8. Okay, that's what we're going to end up doing here. So I like to show it by going like this. 3 times 4x and then 3 times 8, and then I go ahead and do that. 3 times 4x is 12x, and then minus 3 times 8 is 24. And as you can see, I forgot my x here. I got to have that x. And then if you look at this, there's nothing else you can do here. You cannot simplify that any further because these are x's and these are numbers. So this ends up being your final answer. So that was a rather quick one.